there everyone, thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. Today we're going to be discussing Lore Olympus Volume 3. This volume collects episode 50 to 75 of the #1 webtoon comic Lore Olympus. You know me, you've listened to me before, hopefully. And if you haven't, well, welcome. I love Lore Olympus. I love this webtoon, and I love this graphic novel. I'm very picky when it comes to graphic novels, which is why I don't read them a lot. I used to read DC Comics religiously every day going into the comic shop when it was New Comic Book Day to pick up my comics, Blackest Night, New 52, Flashpoint, I read them all. But life gets in the way. I stopped reading. So I'm very, very picky when it comes to my graphic novels and my comic books. Very picky. Rachel Smythe is literally one of my favorites. I absolutely love Greek mythology. And I love what she's done with the story of Persephone and Hades. I love how she's really digging deep into who these characters are and developing them in really interesting and unique ways. There's just a lot of emotion that goes into the storytelling here. And, I mean, honestly, it's astounding. You have this volume, and really, Persephone is still reeling, from the assault from Apollo. She's still reeling the effects of that, and her whole life, she has been kept in a sort of gilded cage. I love the scenes where you actually do see that she feels like she was in a cage and her mother was outside the cage. I love those scenes because she really was in a gilded cage. Her mother loved her. Her mother wants the best for her. But her mother is so overbearing and overprotective, and she's a helicopter parent, and she just keeps her daughter locked in the house, her friends monitored, and it's just like, are her friends really her friends, or are they just babysitters from her mother? And everything she did was reported back to her mother. She had no freedom. So she's spent her whole life sheltered, and now that she's in Olympus living with Artemis, she's struggling to live up to this image that her mother has presented to her, or that her mother has created for her. She's struggling to be the perfect maiden, the perfect daughter, the perfect student. Perfect. She doesn't want to be perfect. And I think what's really great about her relationship with Hades is she's allowing herself to feel, all that negativity that she's just repressed because it didn't fit within the image that her mother gave to her. She's allowing herself to feel that. And it really does get to the core of her character. I think a lot of girls are going to relate to her. I know I sure did, been there, done that. I definitely relate to Persephone 100%. And then you have Hades. Now, Hades has always kind of felt inadequate compared to his brothers. He has always felt unloved. He has always felt less than. So he's in this very toxic relationship with Minith, who has her own issues. Let's just say that. She has her own issues. And I like that we're seeing him as well explore those negative feelings in a positive light, Persephone's existence and what he feels for Persephone. He wants to do better. He wants to be better for her. But also for himself. He's learning to love himself. He's learning to accept himself. And I think these two characters are really, seeing their romance unfold, seeing the friendship that begins, seeing how they are just honest with one another and just not afraid to be themselves is refreshing, because that's what attracts them to the other person. They are honest with one another, they love each other, they care about each other's mental and emotional well-being, And I think that that's just profound, honestly, and I love it. And, even though the story is about Persephone and Hades, you're really delving into who the other characters are, Eros and Artemis and Minith and Demeter and Hera. Everyone has their own issues. Just because they're gods doesn't mean they don't have issues. They all have their own kind of trauma that they have to deal with and come to terms with. And I think that that's really... Oh, God, I'm looking for the word. It's very powerful, I guess. And it's very... I have to applaud, Smythe in the way that she deals with a lot of different issues, that everyday people go through every day to make these characters relatable and make the reader see themselves in the story, And it's beautiful to see it unfold. And I personally love watching it unfold. And then you have the artwork. I love reading the way these episodes... You read these episodes weekly. Panel, you would just scroll down your phone or your, the app. You just scroll down. But now you're seeing all the panels put together on pages, full page spreads. And I think it's wonderful because it gives you a new feel when you're reading the story. There is more emotion. There's more depth. Seeing everything just laid out together and seeing the episodes compiled together. It is thought-provoking. It does give you with a different feeling when you're reading it as a book versus reading it weekly, which I do. I fast pass this every Saturday. I fast pass this. I am a fan. I love this series so much. I can't stress that enough. So, on that note, as if it's any surprise to anyone, this is going to get 5 out of 5 stars. I love Lore Olympus. I love everything that Rachel Smythe is doing with the storytelling here. And I think it's relatable. It's compelling. The artwork is charming. I mean, the color choices speak for themselves. The way the panels go together, the way she has developed this webcomic into a full-length graphic novel is just creative and innovative, and I love everything about it. So, if you want to purchase Lore Olympus Volume 3, which I highly recommend, I will include links in the description below on where to purchase. And on that note, I hope you all will continue to support me here by liking this podcast, subscribing to it, and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. You can also become a supporter on Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-fi, Patreon, or PayPal. And by purchasing one of my handmade candles on my Etsy store. Links to everything in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.